Figure there was no better intro than that.
Yeah, is there ever any better intro than that?
It had to be done. The boys are back, podcasting again. The new version of Dishing and Swishing Podcast. We are lucky enough to be in New York City's Midtown SiriusXM studios. So that's how we have access to
so I met
a plethora of beds and music and clips and all this good stuff that I usually use on the weekends and sometimes during the week. And now we're here. We have official professional equipment and not in a garage. And I'm not...
or not in BU studio, which is...
Not in BU studio.
Might be worse than the can
go complain down the hall to Mr. Stern over there about how bad it is.
Yeah, well, but he wanted to do something about it, but...
We're currently in the Entertainment Weekly studios that we use for the NBA in the weekends, and we're here, and like I said, it's the new revamped version of our podcast. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very fortunate that my great boss lets us use this on the weekends, although it's dead here. It's empty.
Yeah, I was expecting more people.
Yeah, tell me about your initial thoughts.
Okay, so I get in here. First of all, I sound a little funny. Do I sound funny to you?
No, you sound great.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because to my maybe it's the headphones.
All your controls here. See, Nick is still used to this. Nick has to learn how to use all the controls and the different headsets and adjustments. Nick didn't know how to use a professional mic. We're used to the handheld mic, like we're singers on stage.
Yeah, like I'm Paul Abdul. But anyway, so here we go. So I get in here, right, and the building is beautiful. And I get up on the 36th floor, and there's Ed, and just walking through, and it's like nothing you've ever seen before. This blows everything out. Totally blows it out. The view is incredible.
Does that
on the 36th floor.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that's gorgeous. You get in here and you get in here and what it is, you want to do work. You get in here and you want to just talk sports. You want to do your thing. Got TVs everywhere. There's famous people, signatures, this and that. And it's memorabilia. It's insane. Absolutely insane. So, very fortunate, but more fortunate to be here with you because I miss this.
I miss it too. It's been too much of a struggle to keep this thing going on. And how many people want to tune into a YouTube video and just listen to me ramble about updates? I'm not Mike Francesa. I don't get callers. I'm sitting in my garage saying something, and there's no one here to debate me with it. Not that you're totally the contrarian and always going against my points. You don't.
No, but it's just another voice.
It's another voice, and you could in topics spiral, and it's something that needed to be done. And I had to just stop sitting in the basement and doing that by myself. Unfortunately, those who have joined, I'm not going to sit here and not try to bash people, but those who joined obviously don't keep up with it. They don't have the same, the same drive, I guess, that I have and want to keep doing this. And I love doing this. So that's why I'm very fortunate that you, sick and everything, want to come over here, take what was supposed to be a 30-minute train ride. It might have been an hour train ride.
It's funny that when we used to do this at BU, right?
Get up at 5 a.m.
No, we used to complain about every which thing under the sun. So it's like, we'd wake up at 5 a.m., we'd get in the studio, have no swipe access.
Conditions much better than we were doing.
But conditions much better, but still complaining. So I don't know if that's me and you or if that's just bad luck.
No, we're natural complainers.
My 30-minute train ride turned into about an hour and 10 because one train didn't run to Rockefeller Center. Then I had to switch to another. That didn't come for another 20 minutes. And that was packed. I couldn't get on it, so I had to wait for another one, which finally came. And now I'm here, but the New York City subway system is like
it's a little fugazi.
It's fugazi.
Yeah,
it's very dust.
But again, thanks for coming here. So now we have access to the studios. Hopefully, every Saturday or Sunday we get to do this once a week. Get an official recorded podcast with the MP3 right to a disc. We got over there recording. Put that bad boy up on the SoundCloud, which is a new little feature we're going to add in here. Instead of going onto their YouTube page, which you still can do. And you can find that on dishingandswishing.com or on the Facebook fan page, or we'll tweet it out and the YouTube page as well. We're going to have a SoundCloud little page of our own. So
I have a quick question.
Dishing and Swishing. Oh, here we go.
Can I curse? Is that forbidden? Like, what if one just slips out?
If it slips out, it's fine. I mean,
I'm just not on here just dropping bombs, though.
No, okay. Yeah. It's happened before. It's happened. Right. I mean, it's not. I'm not gonna. It's fine.
You're not gonna smack me on the wrist or anything.
No, because if you look at terrestrial radio, they could say whatever they want. I mean, for the most part. And Sirius, we could literally say whatever we want. We don't for the NBA channel. We don't recommend it because it's a family-oriented show.
Yeah, sure. I mean, but Howie's on the other end of the studio here.
He gets his own realm across the hall on the 36th floor. But yeah, we're going to add the SoundCloud in here, so it's another way to access it. It's much easier than going on YouTube. So we'll promote that as well. You could find that same thing, Dishing and Swishing podcast, and we'll promote that as well. And as always, follow us on Twitter at DNS_podcast, at Edward L. Murphy, and at N_pict, PICHT. This is like when Mike and the Mad Dog did the reunion a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you saw that.
Isn't there another one going on too?
They're doing a show,
charity one,
a charity
right?
event,
Okay.
for Garden of James on the 30th, and it's always hilarious when they first sit down with each other because they haven't seen. I'm not sure how much they speak, but they haven't seen each other or been on air together for a while. So they're always just like catching up with sports. Like, oh yeah, Triple Crown. Oh yeah, the Royals won. Like they have so much sports to talk about. You have to encompass everything in like a quick little segment.
That's how I feel right now.
We haven't done it forever.
I want to tell you, like, yo, Ed, just go lead me on the road, but I know I'm just gonna break off and be like, so did you see this about 2 months ago? Did you see that about 4 weeks ago? Did you see Curry drop 45 on this team or that team?
There's so much to talk about, and we had so many years that we probably took for granted doing this radio show back at good old WTBU Offsides Radio. And now we haven't done this in a while, so now we have the chance to do it again, and I'm very happy because there's the chemistry. You can't teach chemistry, and then we have it. We are like the Warriors.
Yeah, please. There's nothing like the Warriors, but if there were a thing close to the Warriors,
did you
it would
jinx
be
the
us.
Warriors? Did you kill the Warriors? I think it was you.
What did I say?
That's what I heard.
What did I say?
The first game you didn't watch. They got
okay. So I was pissed because I've watched at least one half of every Warriors game this year, every single one, and I'm a diehard Laker fan. You know it.
I do.
And because I can't watch that putridity that is what's going on in Los Angeles because it's absolutely horrific. It's beyond horrific.
Well,
but
that's. I mean, we'll get to that next. It's pretty funny what they're doing with the lineups. The starting lineups.
Please,
I don't have a problem with the team stinking. You could suck, and you could have rookies who have to learn the game. I never bashed D'Angelo Russell. Never said a bad word about him. But the fact that Byron Scott is letting Kobe start and he's putting Randall and Russell on the bench to avoid Kobe Bryant because of how bad they play with him. It's like an actual NBA team is doing that. They implemented that.
It's like
system.
What it's like. It's like Vince McMahon, like stripping the title from Daniel Bryan because he knows that it makes the fans pissed. Mm-hmm. But in some weird way, McMahon's like the guy from Saw who knows everything. That's like Byron Scott. He's doing all this ridiculousness.
I think you're giving Scott too much credit.
And benching Russell and Randall just so we suck more, and that way they get a better pick, and that way Ben Simmons ends up in LA, and then all is forgotten because Simmons becomes LeBron James 2.0 and saves the franchise.
Well, it's tricky with their pick though.
Well, yeah. Well, this is why I
protected pick. You have
so what I do with the Lakers, because my friend has League Pass, which has turned out to be
everyone on this channel has it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. So what it's turned out is that I watched the Warriors go for 3, and by that time they're up like
and they don't play the
307.
Steph Curry sitting out.
Steph Curry, the best player ever, sits out in the fourth quarter, which is hilarious because he scores 32 points a game, right? 32. And he doesn't play the fourth quarter. So imagine if he did, he'd score like 50 a game. But anyway, so the Warriors play 3 quarters, and then by then they're up 308 points. And so I turned the Lakers on just to make sure that they lose in the fourth quarter. So it's worked out pretty well. I watched some winning basketball and then some horrible basketball, but the horrible basketball is also kind of good in a weird way.
Yeah, it's good for you. It's top 3 protected. So I think the Suns get it. Some of the
no, Philly gets it. Yeah.
What I'm saying. Yeah.
Of course, Philly.
I know I said Suns. They would defer to the next 2017 if you're top 3, and that'd be great for you guys to pull in a player. Whoever is Scalabrine, if it's Simmons.
I'm not a big Labissiere fan, but I can get into that later. But yeah, I mean, obviously Simmons is the prize here,
and I respect you for watching the Lakers because the same way I watched the Knicks. But I mean, last year you still watch it. You got to know your team, so that's a true fan. But you've taken the Warriors under your wing as well.
It's like I've become the de facto fanboy, armchair coach of the Warriors because it's hilarious. It's not so much even fun as it is hilarious. Have you ever seen something like this before? A guy just dribble up the floor, pull up from 35, and be like, yeah, okay, this is in. Right? And it's not even like it's a doubt. It's like right in the hoop. Right in.
It's like, remember when Jimmer had like the Jimmer range of BYU?
Yeah.
Like that's what
this is exactly what it is. It's insanity. And then this team is like nothing I've ever seen before. And obviously, we make jokes and say Curry's the GOAT and this and that. Curry's not the best player in basketball. He's not. It's LeBron. It's still going to be LeBron for a couple years. But Curry does things on a nightly basis that are just so utterly ridiculous and fun and interesting and like literally something we've never seen before, was why I want to watch him constantly.
Yeah.
I could care less what the Cavaliers do. I could literally care less. I have no interest in watching LeBron at all. I do it anyway, but I have no interest in it. I get excited. I go to work from 7 to 3:30 every day, and I come home and I'm like, oh, the Dubs are on tonight. I want to watch the Dubs. Because you know that at some point or another, you're going to see something that you've never seen before. And it's great. It's absolutely great.
I'm glad you said what you did about LeBron, and the Cavs too. I agree totally, and I'm not surprised we agree on this, that LeBron is the best all-around player in the NBA.
It's not even close.
LeBron is just right now, he's going to he'll get to 75%, which is probably what he's at around now, and he's going to hit cruise control all the way until May and June, and then he's going to kick into high gear.
My mic still squeaks though, like it does at BU, by the way.
Oh, when you move it, yeah. You'll get used to these things. So that's what LeBron's doing right now. He's in cruise control, and it's fine. And he's in cruise control without Sean Burton. He's in cruise control without Kyrie Irving, which is huge. They're only going to get better. With Curry in his game compared to LeBron, is that Curry? Why does everyone like Curry? Because he's a great three-point shooter, and he's just this young kid whose father played in the NBA. He has the cute daughter. He's a good family. Seth, even his mom, and Riley. Like I said, everyone. He's really likable. LeBron's not likable, or he's at least at the very least he's very polarizing.
LeBron's the Sith Lord.
But what LeBron has done, like when you see his stat line though, a LeBron James game could be 28 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. 5 blocks,
2 steals, 2 steals and a block.
Something along like he just fills up the stat sheet.
Right.
Whereas it's something, and Russell Westbrook does that too. Not that Curry can't or doesn't. He does. He could pass the ball. He could he plays okay defense. But he is dropping 35 plus points, and not like you're saying, and that's what everyone likes to see. Everyone loves the crazy handles he has. He has definitely top 2 handles in the NBA. It's him or Kyrie Irving. I'm not sure if you have a third or someone else.
Kemba.
Yeah, he's up there too. But I think Curry.
Oh no, Curry and Kyrie are just 1 and 2.
They definitely 1, 2. Or, either order. And the shots, the range he has is incredible. So everyone loves seeing that, and he's just very likable. And that's a big topic around this station was the Warriors are a team that everyone seems to rally around, everyone seems to like, and there's no haters towards them.
I will say this, I'm going to cut you off for 1 second, because all my friends at BU are huge basketball fans. Mm-hmm. You know most of them, and they're big Celtics fans, and they hated the Warriors.
Right.
They hated what they were doing. And last year when I started the year and I jumped kind of on the bandwagon, I'll admit it, obviously. I loved rooting against them because I wanted the Warriors to show them up. Mm-hmm. Curry's not good. Curry's this and that. Draymond's not even that good. Iguodala's washed up. All whatever excuse you want to make, they had it. And when the Warriors won, still they didn't give them any credit. All my friends say, "Oh, they're lucky, Kyrie this," and LeBron had to do it on his own. No, Kevin Love, Mozgov is soft.
It's not just them.
But how many more? I guess this is the larger point I want to make: is that how many people? How many more things are they going to have to do for that little group of people to finally be like, this team is friggin' legit?
It's a great point. It's just like you must listen to the station early, a couple months ago when the season first started, because that's what a lot of callers say. And don't get me wrong, obviously there's natural rivals who don't like the Warriors, and there's obviously
that's fine. You don't have to like them,
yeah,
but
sure.
But how can you not recognize how insane this team is?
That's what I'm trying to say. Is like they don't have. For a team that's been in the spotlight as much as they have, they don't have there's no storyline or there's no real reason to hate them. People will not root for them, not like them, but I think they have they're generally well liked. Whereas when it comes to the finals, what you said it's spot on. It wasn't congratulate the Warriors, they won. It was the Cavs lost it. LeBron did so much by himself.
Or the Warriors I heard the Warriors got lucky.
I don't know if it's lucky.
I heard a lot of Doc Rivers. A lot of the Doc Rivers out there in the world. Lucky. They got lucky.
The Clippers are the biggest.
First of all, the Clippers got waxed.
Yeah.
Clippers got waxed. Do not even. Crap. You guys, please. Chris Paul's a loser. We can get on that.
I'm not going to say that Doc Rivers is some all-world coach either. I mean, it's you look what Luke Walton just did in his short span is better than really anything that Doc Rivers has ever done. And,
right.
And Steve Kerr was there too. Don't get me wrong, but Doc Rivers, I mean, I don't know, him and his team, he has got a handle on that team. But you're right, save the Clippers talk for another day. But yeah, but they're a part of it. The Clippers, what they said, the fans called up and saying, if LeBron played with, so-and-so, if Lowe was healthy, if Kyrie was there, it's a different series. And what LeBron did by himself, I guess, put down people's heads so they weren't really respected like they should have been. Now they come out this season, they're playing in like a Patriots mode, an FU mode, and saying we're gonna spank
just cram it down your throat
big time. And they needed to do that because now people are like, okay, they're for real. And their odds to win the championship this year, I think I saw this morning, was like 58%, like more than half. Like, that's the majority of the, the percentage of the winning is going to be them. And that's incredible. So, they had to do what they had to do. They made a statement, and, who cares if they lost? But they do change the game. They the whole small ball thing. But they have players that fit a system. They have players that fit a mold. I just made like the Belichick and the Patriots reference.
Yeah,
it's like plug whoever.
It's plug and play,
and you're gonna do well.
I think that is more amazing than anything. I think that's more amazing than Curry becoming one of the best players in the league. I think that's more amazing than Draymond Green becoming a better point guard than most point guards out there.
Yeah.
I think it's a better story than Steve Kerr coming in to win. I think it's just amazing how their front office was able to put together a system and a scheme with Steve Kerr
very smart.
That was just almost foolproof. And that lineup, that small ball lineup, I think it's Curry, Thompson, Iguodala, Green, and Barnes
when healthy, yeah.
is like plus 300 when they're on the floor together. That's absurd. Has there ever been a more I call it the death lineup.
Yeah.
Because that's the lineup that will put the dagger in.
It's great, and like you said, Bob Myers and their whole front
and they
office,
deserve a tremendous amount of credit for everything that's gone on.
Yeah, they hit on their picks. Thompson, first round pick, hit on him.
Green
hit. It was the last pick. Well, he was the second round pick.
Second round pick.
Hit on him. Harrison Barnes hit on him. Ezeli hit on him. Stephen Curry. Now, Stephen Curry is interesting because they did tank to get Stephen Curry. They would have lost that pick to the Suns. If it was pick 8 or higher, that pick goes to the Suns. And who knows if the Suns would have taken Steph Curry or not. The next pick
was the Knicks. Jordan Hill. You're welcome.
Yeah, so we're not going to have to talk about that. So I'm not going to bash them and say they shouldn't be tanking because they didn't do what the Sixers are doing. But what they did lose, I think it was like 20 plus games out of like only 20 something left. Like a lot of games where
they made sure they retained their pick.
Yeah, and I had nothing wrong with that. And they weren't being competitive, but they had a plan, and the plan didn't take 3 seasons like the 76ers did. It took 20 something games, and they got the player they wanted. And he wasn't great early on, the ankle issues, but he turned into a player right now who's probably if he's not 1A 1B with him and LeBron, and that's how I feel.
Yeah, I've always been a Curry fan. I think at Davidson he really opened my eyes.
He has just such a good story about him. Like
I like his whole story. Yeah, I love the story, and he seems like a good guy.
Yeah, that's why everyone loves him.
Overall, he seems like a good guy, and I've always been a Curry fan. And when he got hurt, I hated it. I hated it because I thought that he could really be something good, and I'm just happy for him. Because of me being such a big fan, that he turned it around. The ankle injuries are not really a problem anymore, knock on wood, and that he's leading this team that seems to just have it going on every night.
Right.
I love it.
Do you think they're going to win?
That was what I was going to ask you. At this point, do you really see anybody beating them?
I only asked that because of the Bucks beat them. I don't know if you saw the Bucks stat, but every team
I will say this though that like I said, we got on this topic because you said to me this was the first time you missed the game, right? So I was getting on my topic before we took a left-hand turn that this was the first game I did not watch 1 minute of the game, not at all. But I kind of was worried about this matchup the same way I was worried about the Utah matchup for Golden State because the Bucks are long and athletic,
very.
And when you have Giannis playing the 2. It does something for the dynamic of the team to be long on defense and to be athletic and you go out there and run a lineup with a 6'11" 2 guard and Michael Carter Williams is no small kid either. He's 6'6", 6'7".
Oh, every bit. Yeah.
So they're just big dudes, and I think that helps them, and that's why I was worried about the matchup. I think that would help the Bucks on defense a little bit, and especially with the Celtics taking it to double overtime 2 nights ago, I thought that was going to be a little bit of an issue, their length on defense. And I don't know if it was or wasn't, because honestly, like I said, I didn't watch the game. But it just seemed to me like that would be a tough matchup on the road, last game of the trip, kind of overlooking it a little bit, and they got burned. But that being said, I think in a series, I don't really see anyone beating this team.
It's tough. I mean,
well, you're going to tell me the Spurs? You're going to tell me the Cavs? Come on.
That's the only 2 teams I would say. And in regards to last night, I think not that it's
fluky.
I don't think it was the Bucks' and I agree the length is a great issue. The athleticism is a great issue. I think it's just more the fact that they played so many games. They're playing 100% every night.
And they missed a lot of shots.
And yeah, they did. and they don't have their legs. And Klay Thompson's, he's hurt his ankle. He missed the game the night before, and he's playing the game versus the Bucks. They just squeezed by the Celtics. They're still missing Harrison Barnes. They're just banged up, and not that I don't want to say the players don't play as hard as they can. They take nights off, but like I said before, about LeBron kind of going 75% and like not really pushing as hard as the playoffs. They're playing with the playoff intensity every night. Whether that's because of the disrespect in the offseason, like you alluded to before, who knows? But they're not playing now. I don't think they have to play to that level anymore. I could be wrong because maybe they want to go 73-9.
Well, if you were them, would you go 7-3?
Yeah, sure.
Would you want to do it? I'd want to do it.
100%.
I'd want to do it secretly.
I would go because of the comments by the Clippers and Doc Rivers and by the doubters saying it was fluky. Because they had to play the Cavs that were banged up.
No.
I think because of those reasons, it's definitely in their minds. And you have guys who are definitely fiery. I mean, Draymond Green's definitely a fiery guy, and they want to do that. Now, the downside of that is, if you're going to push to go 73-9,
do you suffer in the playoffs?
You might suffer in the playoffs. And do you want to see a long series of the Spurs after giving 100% every night versus teams like the Jazz or the Bucks or the Sixers or the whoever else is
or the Nets? Look at the Nets.
Teams like that, Lakers. Why do you want to do that? And not that in a way, maybe they haven't been because Curry's been he's benched in the fourth quarter. Their star players.
Sure. So who knows if it's 100% or not? But when you kind of have your focus.
I think their coach go towards that. I think 100%. I think the players and the coach, their mindset is to do that. That's why I believe. I don't know this, but I would guess that's what they're doing.
You got to think so because the way they come out and play is just indicative of them wanting to do it.
There's a reason
but if I were them, like, why not? Why not try and do it? You know what I mean? Why not go for it? Who cares? Besides the fact that me and you hate Michael Jordan, but that's besides the point. So, like, if I were them, I would want to shove it to everybody. I'd want to shove it to everybody. Why not?
The difference is just between the East and the West, and the East has been much better this year, but the West has the top-heavy teams, the teams that could give you, a really hard series.
Right.
The Clippers are still there. Oklahoma City is still there. I think that the Spurs are on. They're pretty much on the same level as the Warriors. Yeah, they lost a couple of times. They're very good.
Do you think the Spurs would give them fits?
Yeah, 100% I do.
Kawhi
Leonard is the best defensive player in the game right now, bar none.
No, that's 100% true.
Aldridge is also finally understanding the system and getting his groove. And then, oh, by the way, they still have Tim Duncan. Oh, by the way, they still have Tony Parker. Oh, by the way, they still have Manu Ginobili. And Danny Green's no slouch. I mean, they have a good team. They have a really good team, and they have probably the best coach in the NBA. You don't want to go into a series versus them when, like I said, you played the Nets and the Magic and the Lakers and the Knicks and all these teams that are, whatever, 100%, and you're just dead tired. You have Klay Thompson with a banged up ankle, and you have Curry just with general fatigue and whatever else he has, and Barnes and being banged up. It just you don't know what else could happen. So it's something you have to be a little weary of and think, is it really worth going 73-9 or whatever? Or if we lose, 15, 20 games, does it really make a difference if we still get the 1 or 2 seed and save the guys, because who's going to get the last laugh? That's what you're worried about. What happens if LeBron, like I said, is on his cruise control and then he gets back Kyrie and he's playing with Kevin Love and everyone
right, and then they start feeling,
and
then they start feeling
or
themselves.
even lose before the finals. They lose before, there's other teams in the West too. It's scary. If it was the East, I'd say maybe go for it because there's only really one true contender, and I'm sure you'd agree with that. There's really no one in the East that could really give them, a run
I
for their money.
think that the only two teams that right now, and I've watched, like I said, a lot of ball, that the only two teams that could give them an actual series and threaten to beat them in 7 games is San Antonio and Cleveland. That's it. Oklahoma City is Fugazi.
I agree with that too.
Fugazi.
They have no third scorer.
They have a lot more problems than no third scorer. I think that they have their own problems, and that's whatever. We could have a 30-minute discussion on their own problems.
Right.
But I think they're Fugazi. I think that anyone else in the East, you want to name Chicago, you want to name anybody really for that matter, not going to happen. Chicago wouldn't beat them in a 7-game series. Chicago would have too much trouble scoring against that defense. It's almost like an anaconda comes down on you and starts to choke you out.
I totally agree with that.
And really in the West, like, is there more? Is there more in the West that besides San Antonio?
I mean, the Rockets won't go back to where they were.
That's not happening. But let's be realistic here. That team is made to lose. That team is built to lose.
Right.
And then LA is just the same. I think the LA is a glorified Houston. Just built to lose. I don't like their team.
I think their roster is a little bit better. They have a guy who has scored a ton of points off the bench and Jahlil Okafor.
Sure, they're better.
Still have CP3 and Blake
do they
and
really
DeAndre.
pose a threat?
More so than the Rockets, yes. More than the Spurs, absolutely not. More than the Thunder, absolutely not.
I think if you want to go in order, it's Cleveland when fully healthy at number 1 is the team that could take them down.
I'd say Spurs.
1B San Antonio and then Oklahoma City because God forbid Durant or Westbrook just full blown white hot.
I can sign up for that. I can see LeBron taking things to a whole new level. LeBron still has a lot of juice left. He's gonna be all right.
Oh my, Eddie Lacy is just eating right now.
Being totally honest, I like the Clippers a lot going into the season. I thought the additions of Josh Smith and Lance Stevenson would help.
Turns out it's not.
Yeah, no, I was dead wrong.
Turns out it's not. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
They would have been okay, but it's I was definitely wrong on that. So I mean, definitely this basketball season will be something else to watch. What was your topic you wanted to start off with that I changed? You want to stay on the basketball and get?
No, I didn't really care. I'll do whatever you want.
I thought
transition me there.
I thought the whole we could stay in the basketball train here. I thought the whole interesting issue with the 76ers, and I know one of the topics that we're talking about was tied in with the whole Johnny Manziel stuff, was the Jahlil Okafor. I know you're a big Duke guy too, so Jahlil I thought was right up the rally.
God.
And we don't have to get into the whole boring. I mean, we talked about. I feel like 3 years ago we literally did talk about the 76ers tanking and the whole.
We
issues.
Also 3 years ago or two years ago literally talked about Johnny Manziel being an idiot.
Yeah,
which was it's funny how things come full circle.
It really has, and. You know, he's suspended 2 games, Okafor that is, and the Sixers are still struggling. They just hired Jerry Colangelo, and they're hiring like Mike D'Antoni as assistant coach. So obviously there's a lot of issues there with the whole tanking and their trust the process thing going on. But I wanted to focus more on that in regards to Jahlil Okafor and the lack of players they had. You know, they sent Carl Landry because he was banged up to the D League. The oldest player on their team was Robert Covington, who was like turning 25 tomorrow. Actually, I believe his birthday is December 14th.
That's wild.
They don't have a single player born outside of the 1990s.
Yeah, it's absurd. I didn't really know.
Okafor,
I didn't realize that. I kind of knew it, but I didn't realize it.
Yeah, Landry he's like 31, and he got sent down because he was hurt. So now you only have 25. Robert Covington, who's he's okay, plays an okay player, he's turning into someone who's pretty good.
No, he's not bad.
He's not bad. No, but he's your oldest player. He's your vet. And you have a guy like Jahlil Okafor who's throwing haymakers out, in the streets of Boston, where we walked.
You see those videos?
I did, yeah.
Wild.
That's in front of, what was it in front of? What's the name of the place? I think Jada's been there. Oh, not a state. It's one of those like bougie clubs that we never,
not our scene.
With.
Yeah, not our scene.
But he was there. When the name comes to me, I'll think of it. And he was there, and he wasn't allowed in, and that's not surprising. We know the story of Boston with the fake IDs and how strict they are. But do you go with the whole notion that they need guys who are like a 30, 35-year-old guy?
Does Bijou sound right?
No, it's not Bijou because Jada worked there. I would have flipped out.
Venue?
No.
All right, we'll figure it out.
Royale? Is it Royale?
Royale, that could work. Yeah, Royale's up here. It's I'm gonna look this up.
Maybe we could just type in Jahlil.
It's on Tremont Street.
Yeah,
maybe.
Might have been it.
Whatever. Either way, go ahead.
But do you buy into that whole notion that you need like an old vet to be like, hey, Jahlil, don't do that? Do you think they need that? Or
what you need? A hired, trained professional bodyguard to prevent
they give a bodyguard, a 6'11", 7-foot guy, whatever he is, 7 foot, 300-pound guy is having a bodyguard, and it's not a bodyguard to protect him; it's a bodyguard to say, Jahlil, stop being an idiot.
It's a bodyguard to smack him on the wrist.
Yeah. Do you think they need that? And do you think that contributed to his behavior? Like, by all accounts, he was a good guy. He went to Duke. He was a stand-up guy.
Yeah, look,
good
and
father.
I will say this, is that...
Maybe you can speak more because I know you...
I will say this, is that Krzyzewski loves him.
Right.
Loves him. And Krzyzewski wouldn't go out and say, Ja's a great kid, that, and the other, if he didn't believe that Ja was a great kid. That's the first thing. So that leads me to believe that, let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. He's a good guy. Good kid. I don't know. I think sometimes kids, especially that young, that immature, have a real problem with people saying negative things about them. And you and I both know Boston is ruthless. People in Boston, the sports fans, are ruthless. So they don't really care. They don't give a damn who you are. They're going to talk smack to you.
Absolutely. Where are you both Yankee fans? I was wearing Yankee hats all the time and get trouble. I'm a Giants fan. Wearing Giants stuff. You're going to get trouble.
The first day I stepped foot in Boston, I got told to go F myself because I had a Yankee hat on. But I think that's the first thing, is that like kids that young and that immature, and we're not far older, have a problem being spoken like that too. especially when you're the man and you're treated so well on campus and you win a national title and you really can't do much wrong at the college level. You come into the NBA and no matter how good you are, there is still a welcome rookie effect kind of thing.
Sure.
And so I think that's the initial thing, is the struggle dealing with getting into the league and not being as good as you were. And then the team is the second thing, being horrifically bad. Obviously, record-breakingly bad.
He's not used to it.
He's not used to that. And so I think that's just builds up to all this frustration. And it could take one thing, whether it be a racial slur or you guys suck or this and that, and it could just be one thing. And that sets him off, and he's like, you know what, I've had enough of this. I had enough of losing 20 games in a row. I've had enough of not being that great yet. I've had enough of struggling on defense. I've had enough of people calling me names. I've had enough of everything. So you know what? Boom. That's it. And you see him hit the kid and then sprint away, like immediately knew he had done the worst thing he could. Yeah,
exactly.
Excuse me. The worst thing he could possibly have done, which is punch the guy in the face.
Yeah.
He put him to sleep, by the way. Snoozing.
I wouldn't want to get hit by a 300-pound guy either. I don't blame him.
It's like getting hit. Yeah. It's like getting hit by Conor McGregor.
If he wasn't sleeping, I'd fake sleep.
I feel like I'd rather get hit by Conor McGregor than get hit by Jahlil Okafor.
I would just lay asleep just so I wouldn't have to worry about another one.
Face another punch.
Play possum.
Right, exactly. So, I think those are the things that combined into it. But to your point about needing a vet, 100%. I think that those guys, I think that those guys provide something that younger teams don't know about. They provide that knowledge to know that sometimes you have to deal with the comments and the heckling and the poor play, really, and the sucking to get to a higher goal or some kind of like reachable goal that you need to struggle before you see success. It's very simple.
It makes a lot of sense, and you like to hear the stories and like to see tell the guy ABC this is how you should act in the NBA. You're an NBA star now. The problem I have with that is this. So Jahlil Okafor that night goes out to one of those clubs you still can't find the exact name of. He's out there, has a couple cocktails, right? He's feeling pretty loose. A crazy guy from South.
Yeah, that certainly doesn't make things any better.
Oh yeah, whatever. I don't know who the fan was, but some guy, some typical Bostonian guys, and they're like, "Oh, you suck," blah blah. Being their typical selves, how we know. You're hearing this. Like I said, a couple cocktails already. He lost 1,000 games in a row whenever he's never lost in his his whole basketball career basically. He didn't. Duke, they won the title. He in high school. I'm sure he dominated. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, he was player of the year in high school.
So there you go.
All American player of the year.
Now he's in a franchise that's headlines for the wrong reasons. Headlines because they're a black mark in the NBA. So much so that people thought that Adam Silver had to step in and do something about it, which it's still unconfirmed whether he did or not. Adam Silver came on a station and said he did not force Colangelo upon the Sixers, but who really knows the what's going on in the back channels. Anyway, I digress. So he has a couple cocktails. This idiot from Boston is yelling at him, whatever, and just saying his team sucks, blah blah blah. When you're hearing these stories from a veteran, you're not going to go, well, Carl Landry told me not to do this, so I'm not going to do it. It's going to be a heat of the moment thing. He's going to get really jacked up, and he's going to crack him. And that's the reason why I don't think having veterans is really going to do much, because a kid's going to be a kid. And I can't say I would be any different. And that's the reason why I'm not going to get in his case.
I think you and I would be different because of, I think it's just who we are. I think sometimes we're coached to know. Like,
it depends what the level of what the person's saying is. Now, if the guy was racial slurs, I would have less tolerance for what happened. I would have less tolerance for what happened to the guy.
Yes.
Because you're stepping out of line. Now, saying the Sixers suck, well, one, it's accurate, and two, he's allowed to as a fan. That's what fans do. Like Jahlil Okafor he's played North Carolina. I'm sure he's heard a lot worse, playing in Chapel Hill or against Chapel Hill. So I think on that level, it's like, well, why are you freaking out over this? Your team is bad. Everyone knows your team is bad. Let the guy say it. That guy, you'll hear stuff being said like that 1,000 times in a week, in a month, throughout your career. So who cares if that happened one time? And now, obviously, what's going on is that
here's
he's
another
drinking and cracks him,
thing.
That's what happens.
What in the hell are your friends doing, letting you get into a fight with this dude in the middle of the damn street?
They got to push him away. That's the thing, too.
You're in the financial district of Boston. Are you serious?
The thing, too, is that it's 2015, and the first thing something happens, everyone
someone whips a camera out. Are you absurd? Like, if I'm your boy, I would rather you punch me in the face than him.
Right.
That's such a bad look. Like, I don't know. I would just imagine if you and I were out together and one of us happened to be a famous athlete, or let's just say you're a big time.
It doesn't even
anything.
Have to be. It doesn't even have to be. Words can be spoken anywhere between us. And I guess I was wrong when I'm saying, because there have been words. You've had words. I've had words with other people before, and I've never got to the physical level. So I guess in a sense that we are smart enough to know, one, there's repercussions. And it's funny, it's on a lesser scale than what he is, because he's a famous athlete. Like you said, a cell phone will be out, 100 cell phalls will be out taking pictures of him. Whereas for us, it's like, oh, just some jerks got into a fight.
Right.
So I'm
and the guy
withhold.
recording the video is like, oh wow, look at this, it's Jahlil Okafor.
Yeah.
Like
the 7-foot guy, can't miss him.
Oh
like,
my god,
yeah.
look at this giant guy.
So that's why I'm not so sold on you need a veteran presence, because I don't think in the heat of the moment they're going to make that much of a difference. If you could have had the smartest, oldest NBA player who everyone respects, and it's not going to mean really anything. It's Jahlil Okafor, a young kid being a young kid who was caught in a bad spot because of his frustrations and the booze and whatever else was going on that night. Maybe he just had a bad night, something bothered him. I don't know, I don't know what was going on.
Who knows?
And then a guy just really got under his skin and he let loose. And yeah,
See you later.
obviously he should not have done that. But I can't say, like I said, I'm not sure when I say I'm going to be any better than he was, because stuff could happen, stuff could set people off, but he does have to realize that everyone has a camera phone and he's a star of a team, and he has to also let it just kind of roll off brush it off, because who cares if you say your team sucks, because your team does suck.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Think about it.
Worse.
For how many years are you going to hear this in the NBA,
Oh, every single year.
Even if you're good, people will tell you suck. Look at what we just talked about. The Warriors. People tell the Warriors they suck, and they don't.
Yeah, they're going to challenge the Bulls record, and they're going to be solely say, "Oh yeah, we suck great. We just won 20, whatever, 8 straight games."
Yeah, right, exactly. So, but I think that in general, having veterans helps. I think in general of just like
the locker room is a piece of crap.
Right, their locker room is garbage. Mm-hmm. It's got to be hot garbage.
Yeah,
and I don't want to bash them just to bash it.
No, you're 100% allowed
just
to, because it's
for
wrong.
the sake of bashing it. But I would imagine that what are you going to do when you get a whole bunch of 19 to 25-year-old kids in the same locker room? Like, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think how much seriousness is really there? How much?
There's none. They're being paid to just appear on the court, but they don't have to win. There's no expectations. They're actually told to lose. So why
they're
have
taught? You're taught on a professional level to lose.
How much different do you think a practice would be if you watched Golden State or versus the Sixers?
Yeah. Look what the Spurs did to them. The Spurs beat them by 51. That's a joke in the NBA. That should never happen.
They were
so I think that in general, veterans help like that. But you're right to the point. It is that like in the heat of the moment, if Carl Andrew were like, "Hey, Ja, don't do this," he's like, "Kidding me?"
Or even if he says, "Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't. I won't do this and that." But you could say one thing and do another.
Sure, of course
you could be getting yelled at by some guy from Southie at Royale, and you can crack him on the street because you didn't want to hear your team sucked for the 100th time that day.
Right.
After your team lost by X amount of points.
Sure.
And I just think in that scenario, it's not going to make that much of a difference how many veterans you have. Now, if he's in a better locker room, but yeah, I mean, maybe his temperament is a little bit different, but I also think that has to do a lot with the winning and the losing. So you could bring all the veterans you want. They had veterans there last year. The team still sucked. They had guys like Jason Richardson and Luke Mbamute. They didn't really make much of a difference.
Come on.
So you could put a bunch of like scrub veterans, for lack of a better term, and their team's still going to be pretty bad. So I don't think it really matters. What veterans? What, you mean like a veteran like LeBron James?
I don't really know what I'm even talking about. I don't really even know. I think you need somebody that's not horrible, but somebody that.
But how many of those guys are available?
Right, exactly.
You can't go grab it off a tree.
Right, exactly. All of these guys, they're like hot commodities nowadays.
Yeah.
Look at Leandro Barbosa, Sean Livingston. They're all veterans that like aren't great, but have had success in the past and could help a team.
Sure.
So anybody that could help a team is not going to want to go to Philly. You know what I mean? Because they're all going to be free agents to a certain, for the most part. So it's kind of this weird, vicious cycle that goes on there that what's going to end up having to happen at the end of the day is they're going to have to get somebody that's just so good that he exceeds the BS and everything else that's going on there, the losing, the poor management, the everything. And I don't know if unless they get Ben Simmons, that's not going to happen.
It's a lot of things need to happen. And you need to see a healthy Joel Embiid. You need to see Dario Saric come over here. You have to, if they have to hit on their picks, preferably Ben Simmons or someone of that ilk to change the franchise and have a good young core.
Don't
move the players,
right.
win games. a respectable amount of games, and then people will say, okay, there's a good core. Maybe a mid-level free agent or two will come over and sign here, kind of like the Knicks did. They signed mid-level guys, got Aflalo and Lopez, guys like that. Come over here, guys like Derek Williams, who's on the
and they'll change, and they'll begin to slowly change
it's a slow
the mold.
process. Yeah.
But this is not going anywhere anytime soon.
No, it's not.
This
It's
is not.
It's
This is going to get way worse before it gets better.
Unfortunately,
unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. It's scary to think about, though. It's really scary to think about how bad they really, really are.
If they don't hit on the picks this offseason and they don't get the guy, the Saric, or they don't,
this could happen again.
If Embiid's unhealthy, you have to fire Sam Hinkie. He should not be able to work for an NBA team the remainder of his life. That's just a simple fact.
And if I'm Sam Hinkie, right, I gotta be a little mortified, embarrassed. But, like, I'd be saying novenas at this point. I'd be saying the rosary. You give me a because at the end of the day, if this doesn't work out, like, this is your death. Like, stick a fork in you, you're going to be burned at the stake because you will never find another job in any professional sport.
He doesn't deserve it. It's a black mark in the NBA. They've never had something happen this bad before. And what Jahlil Okafor did is basically what the 76ers are on a micro level.
It's a microcosm of their entire just failed... experiment? Is that even the right word?
Yeah, it was. It was based all on numbers. They did not have the players they wanted to keep. They traded away Evan Turner. They traded away Drew Holiday. They traded away Michael Carter-Williams. All these players they had there, they had to move away. But when you think about it, if you had those three players, you go, that's not a terrible core along with the guys they have right now and the guys they should have next year. Or, could have.
Right. I mean, look, Evan Turner's not bad, and Drew Holiday isn't bad, and MCW isn't bad.
And, taking Embiid, you could say is a question, knowing that he was injured. But if he was healthy, he's a consensus number one pick, and that's just a fact. So it's risky. I think Colangelo's rebuilt a bunch of teams like the Suns and Team USA and the Diamondbacks, and I think he'll have a good, idea of what to do.
You just need a talent evaluator that's going to come in there and just clean up the mess.
I think you do. I think Brett Brown's a good coach. Brett Brown, a BU guy. I think he's a good coach, and I think that when he has players, but you don't have players, and it's just hilarious to hear their press conferences after the game. He's just like, we lost. I don't even care at this point. I'm numb to it.
Yeah, like what can you say? Like what do the writers like? I feel kind of bad for the writers because like, what are you guys going to say that's going to like be thought provoking and somewhat intriguing of a question? Like, how does it feel to suck again? I feel kind of bad because this is just all a terrible thing, and these guys must hate their jobs.
Oh, sure.
You got to hate your job. As the coach, you got to hate what's going on. As a player, you got to hate what's going on, which is what we just kind of talked about, and what fueled the whole Jahlil Okafor blow up.
Yeah.
So as a player, you hate your job. As a coach, you hate your job. As the front office, you're embarrassed. And as a writer and as a guy, these Philadelphia news channels, what are you going to go do? Stand up outside the arena and be like, okay, well, the Sixers lost again by 20, 25, 30. This sucks.
In a weird way. I mean, maybe it's fun because they're so bad it became a story. But I agree with you. I mean, covering that team like that and just seeing all
it's got to be really, really
tough
no
for
story.
Anybody. It's another loss every single day.
But it just, not only is it another loss, like you just said, there's no light right now at the end of the tunnel. There just seems to be...
Not at least until the draft. Or just see
there seems to be no immediate light. And imagine not getting the number one pick.
That's not going to help Hinkie in any good way. I mean,
Brandon Ingram is good and Sky Labissiere is good, but what do you really need another 7-foot center for in Labissiere? And what do you really need a kid that, like, Ingram is another project, in my opinion. And like you said, I'm a Duke guy. I really love Duke, and I like their team. But Ingram is a project.
I think that
if you don't hit on Simmons, there's really, really no light at the end of the tunnel.
Their plan then would be try to trade Noel and pray to God that Joel Embiid is healthy, and then beg Saric to come over here, and then it's a good. It's a good kind of return. I guess we're not getting it. It's a good kind of like
plan B.
Yeah.
You know what's stinks too is that I like Nerlens Noel a lot.
He's a good defender play. He just cannot coexist with Jahlil Okafor.
I like him a lot. I think that in the right way, he could be a way better form of like Ben Wallace. and way more athletic and just really, really effective. Imagine him on the Warriors. Oh my goodness!
They could use a guy like
oh
that.
My goodness!
Got to give him like 10 and 10.
Dude, it would just be Noel would be doing banana things. Like just Curry would be throwing balls off his head, and Noel would be coming down with his feet to slam them home. It would be absurd.
No, that's a good point.
And in the right, like I said, in the right system, I really like Noel, but it's not. Who's guiding this team? Oh my gosh!
I guess now it's Colangelo. So I think we've exhausted that topic.
It's just
the one thing I wanted to relate to, like I mentioned
so
before,
frustrating.
was Manziel, and Manziel was like a famous the rants we had back in the day, back when he was still in A&M, and I've changed a lot. I've changed a lot how I feel about him, because I guess I just put myself in his shoes, because
he
we're
just won
essentially
today.
the same age. Yeah, he won today. The last game he played, he almost threw for 400 yards versus the Steelers.
Sure.
And he goes out and he gets caught on video again, because everyone has a camera phone, and he was caught with the champagne bottles on stage, by the DJ booth, rapping a song, whatever. And I understand that he is not supposed to drink, I guess. I'm not sure what kind of team rules they implemented after his whole stint in rehab and this and that, and I got in trouble with the whole if he hit his girlfriend in the head or not when they're driving, and all the incidents. And I get they probably they said to him, excuse me, you're done here. You're done going on drinking. You're going to, go home, sit in your house, not move, study the playbook, and come play football, and that's it.
Once again, like, how utterly ridiculous for a 20... Well, how old is this kid? 22, 23?
Oh, yeah, I think it's my age.
How stupid is, like, oh my goodness.
Feasible. It's not feasible, but I will say this. If the Browns told him to do that and said, you want to start for us, just show us, for X amount of time, or, that you're not going to be a party animal and going crazy, and then he goes out and does that and he gets caught, and they bench him for, 2 games trying to make a statement. Okay, fine. But then you go and start him today because of, the injury to McCown, and it's just like... All right, well, if you only were not going to play him because McCown was there, then you're not really sending a message, because you're playing him this week anyway. If you really want to send a message, you cut him instantly. But I think that at the same time, they're afraid to cut him because they don't know what he could be. They don't know how good he could be. He threw 400 yards versus the Steelers, and they need... The Browns of all organizations need someone to rally around.
Yeah.
My point with this whole thing is, and compared to Jahlil Okafor, is that Manziel didn't hit a guy, in the street or multiple fights.
No.
He was holding a bottle of champagne, singing a song on next to a DJ booth. Is that a crime? No.
How many times have we done that?
He's a few. He's old enough to drink. Jahlil Okafor was not, and he was at a club.
Yeah.
So, he went to the rehab. He did his stint there. They dismissed the whole thing with the girlfriend. So, I mean, in reality, is from a normal human being standpoint, and did he do anything wrong? No. But what comes in is the Cleveland Browns team rules. I just have a problem with them saying it's very hypocritical to say we're going to bench you now. We're going to start McCown. McCown goes down, and then okay, Johnny, you're back in. Johnny,
it's just a damn circus. It's a circus. It's all it is. It's a circus act. And honestly, these are the 2 worst franchises in the 4 professional sports right now. These are literally the 2 worst franchises because they're snake pitting. There's terrible upper management. There's terrible coaching. There's not good players. They're missed draft picks. They
missed every first-round draft pick.
Literally every single one.
Go look at that list.
Literally every single one.
Since the Joe Thomas.
Since Joe Thomas
Hayden picks. You look after that, it's like Whedon and like Phil Taylor,
Barkevius Mingo,
the cornerback. His name slips my mind. Who they actually benched. It was a healthy scratch. He was like the 13th. Justin Gilbert, I believe his name is.
Yes, Gilbert.
Yeah, they bet like awful picks, and they lose Josh Gordon too. It doesn't help.
That doesn't help.
The thing what I
it's just a circus. It's a circus.
There's been players for the history of time who have always been big party animals. I mean, like Mickey Mantle would do crazy to every player.
My grandfather used to tell me stories about how Mickey Mantle, Whitey Ford, and one more of them, might have been Rizzuto, I might be wrong, but Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford used to go out and just get whacked.
Oh yeah.
After games, be playing hungover, be playing drunk
all the time.
David Wells, you ever remember that story with David Wells? David Wells knocked a dude out in a diner at like 5:30 in the morning and pitched the next day. Like, it's just It happens.
It does happen.
It
There are
happens.
human beings. They go out and they drink and they do this kind of stuff. And in the back in the day, everyone was like, "Oh, like it's so funny. They're legends." And like today's world, like the people who grew up with the guys like Mantle or even like younger generation, like with Wells, now they're like, "Oh, they kind of look down upon Johnny Manziel and what he's doing." I don't understand that in the least because he's just doing what everyone else has done. Yeah, he's a really popular kid, especially in Texas, and with the whole Heisman thing and just doing what he did in college. And I get he's another polarizing character. He's someone that a lot of people must love or a lot of people hate. And I just think that the team needs to realize like this Johnny is who he is. Like that's Johnny Manziel for you. He's gonna go out there and sling the football around. And he's gonna go out and drink a couple. He's still with the girlfriend, so I guess things are okay. He didn't have, wasn't arrested for anything going on. There was no public indecency or get into a fight or anything. He was on stage.
He didn't put a guy. He didn't put a man to sleep.
He did not put a man to sleep like Jahlil Okafor did. So what message are you really sending if you bench him for 2 games and just have to insert him in the lineup again once Josh McCown goes down?
Well, where is Austin Davis in all this? Well, that kid who started.
I think it's what it comes down to. They realize that he just sucks. And then Johnny Manziel actually had a pretty good game. Has had a couple pretty good games this season. And he might be the only bright spot in this entire franchise. Because you know what's going to happen if they're not going to commit to him? Where he's going to end up going? A bigger circus, the Dallas Cowboys, because Jerry Jones is obsessed with him, and he wants him back home in his home state of Texas.
And to back up Romo, I mean, if they have Johnny Manziel backing up Romo's
35, turning 36. He's injured.
They're probably in the playoffs running away with the NFC East.
They're not going to skip a beat. You're going to have Manziel throwing to Dez Bryant.
And Dez Bryant will score me more points in fantasy, in which case I would have gone undefeated and would not have had to sweat out this week.
So I just think the Browns need to figure what's their real end game with Johnny Manziel. What's their goal?
I think that is more reprimandable than what he's doing because they knew what he is and they knew what he was about and they took him anyway.
Right.
And they traded up to take him anyway.
Right.
So you know what? Shame on you. Shame
100%.
on the Cleveland Browns for being, quite frankly, idiots.
They are idiots.
Shame on you both because what Johnny's doing is not right, and there's no reason to condone this.
No, it's not right. If they gave him a strict set of rules, says Johnny Manziel, you cannot drink a sip of alcohol, you cannot take Listerine,
and then when he does it, you start him anyway. Right. How does that work? Like because
McCown got hurt, and you're not sending a message. If you want to send a message, you cut him. You cut him on the spot.
Or if you want to
drive to the damn place he was, the bar, and you grab him off the DJ booth, and you say,
"Done.
You're out of here. You're out of Cleveland for good."
But you know what? Even still, if you don't want to cut him, you know what? Your season is over anyway. You guys are a miserable ball club anyway, so what does it really matter? Play somebody else. Pick a free agent. Pick me and you up.
Right.
And have us throw 3 for 25.
And they don't want to commit to it because they don't know what they're doing because they don't know what they're inept. They said, well, on one hand he's pretty good, but on the other hand we want to show that we're tough. Well, you show neither because you benched him for 2 games, then you played him again, and guess what he did? He just won you a game. The last game he played, he threw for almost 400 yards versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. The guy is showing he has talent. He's showing he could be the bright spot, but you cannot commit to what you want to do. Yes, he drank. He probably broke your team rules. I want to go, and say he broke your team rules. I guarantee there was rules in place when he went to rehab saying you got to stay away from the limelight, and I don't disagree with him.
He broke him,
but that's Johnny. That's Johnny football. It's Johnny being Johnny.
That's also that. Also, if you're gonna punish him. Just do it.
Yes.
Just do it.
Absolutely.
Instead, you start running a Ringling Brothers act here, and now not that he skates away scot-free, but he skates away scot-free.
He does.
And what does a kid like that, who maybe Johnny Manziel does have a problem, what does he learn from your discipline? It's nothing.
I think the problem is
I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying
he's a 23-year-old kid. The guy was brought up in Texas. His dad has like oil money. They have like FU money. They could buy whatever they damn want.
But I'm just saying, like, if
he's played for Texas A&M and won a damn Heisman Trophy. He's gonna go and do what he wants because that's the life he's used to. So let Johnny be Johnny. That's the whole thing. Like you said, why draft him if you think, why is he such a high-profile guy? Because that's who he is. He was born on like a bed of $100 bills, probably.
No, he was born on a bed of oil. The oil shot up, and he came out of it and was like,
"That's it.
Sup, middle fingers. Here I am."
It's like Darrell B. Blood. He's Dallin Day-Lewis, basically. That guy, his house is an oil field, and the Cleveland Browns are shocked by this. Like, what do you want? Do you want a guy who's going to swing the football and score touchdowns and hopefully win?
You drafted him.
It makes no sense whatsoever. And
I'm
not going to go and say Johnny Manziel is some drunk. Or the guy needs alcohol. He's not dependent on alcohol. He's a kid. He went to a huge party school down south. That's what they do down there. Go on any website and Google it. They party. They drink. They try to talk to girls. That's what every person who's our age. That's what they do.
Yeah.
If I was if I had FU money and I went to play quarterback at A&M or any school down south,
anywhere,
I would be doing the same exact damn thing.
Because
now,
you can. But that's what. But the final point that I'm making is that, like, if he did have a problem, which I agree with you that he doesn't, you as an organization, once you draft a player like that, have a responsibility to sort of coach him into not just being a good football player, but to being a person that represents the organization appropriately. And if you do this kind of poor, half-assed discipline, what does he learn from it? Nothing.
Because if you have the team rules, it's you break them, you are gone.
So
and
on
they didn't
both
do it.
levels, you lose as the Cleveland Browns. On both levels, on our going off about Johnny being Johnny, you lose because you're expecting something different. And on your team discipline, professional code of conduct, you lose because you didn't enforce it.
Let them get away with it.
So you get nothing. You lose.
They need Pettin's a defensive guy. Was from the Jets. I think they need a good offensive mind there to maybe if he feels a connection, because it's so much up back and forth with who's leading this team and who's not. It's a new regime there. I think maybe if you have somebody in place that he could say, okay, this guy's gonna lead us to victory if they build a good team around him. But I mean, I don't think Johnny trusts that. I think he knows the organization's in disarray. So the guy's doing what he did during his bye week, and you're gonna get on his case during a bye week. He had a full 7 days off. It makes no sense. And it shows how afraid they are. They are scared. They're a scared organization because the minute they cut him, they know, okay, there goes our one chance of a guy who had some promise is out the window. And guess where he's going to go now? He's going to get down to the D with a huge star in his helmet. And in 2 or 3 years, when Tony Romo has to retire because he has every broken bone in his body, then you're going to have him throwing to Dez Bryant. And you're not going to be happy with yourselves because you let him go, because you wouldn't let him be Johnny. Guess who's going to let him be Johnny?
Jerry Jones.
Exactly.
There's really there's a lot of things that are going on in sports right now that I've sat on my couch and just been hitting myself in the face.
There's been a lot going on. Like I said, it's like the Mike and the Mad Dog thing. There's so much going on we didn't even talk about. Is there anything else in the NFL we got to hit on?
Today there's news and notes and things. Steelers won.
Yeah, it's good for you.
Steelers win.
Very upset the NFC East is not helping the Giants cause.
I think this is the end of the road for Tom Coughlin, the Gringotts Goblin.
Yeah,
I think this is the end of the road.
I was tweeting about that a lot, and I always side with Tom Coughlin. The guy is a phenomenal coach.
You love Coughlin.
He rebuilt BC's program. He brought the Jacksonville freaking Jaguars to a game away from a Super Bowl.
They beat the Steelers in that game, by the way.
Yeah,
David Garrard.
And he gave the Giants 2 rings versus potentially one of the greatest teams of all time. I am forever in debt to him. I'm forever grateful of him. But lose a game at the end of it, one time is you could just, a fluke. Second time, maybe it's a coincidence. When you start losing games at the, last 75 seconds, 3, 4, 5 times to the Cowboys, to the Falcons.
You see that stat that if the Giant games lasted about 75 seconds longer, they'd be 10-2? Is that just not indicative of poor coaching?
It's 100% what it is. It's just there's no real. It's you have Coughlin saying what he wants to be done, then you have Ben McAdoo saying I guess what he wants to do, and then you have Eli, who definitely has some leash and some pull in this situation or late games of what he wants to do. And I don't think there's a direct real leader there, and they don't have a set plan of what they want to be done. And there was definitely times where they had no clue. Not one of them had a clue, and they mismanaged it. And I think 5 times in a season is way past your limit. And I think also when you haven't hit the playoffs in a couple of years, you're kind of, it was like that thing where TC was around and he was allowed to leave on his own terms. And I think he's kind of forfeited those by how awful the Giants have been the last couple of games.
I think about everything in football about through the Patriots realm is if a coach did this, he would be gone. If Johnny Manziel were to violate team rules, he'd be gone.
Yeah.
If Jahlil Okafor was on the Patriots and he punched a guy in the face and made a big mockery of the franchise, he'd be gone. And so I think that if you think about everything in that, it actually frustrates you more, but it kind of gives you a sense of what should happen. So I think that the miscoaching and the mismanagement just warrants you being gone. It's great what you did in the past, but we know this. Sports is very much...
What have you done for me lately?
Yeah. Take the words out of my mouth. So I think that this is what it's come to.
You're right. It's a great point. And the Patriots have
And
one. They have one
that's
voice,
what
and they have one leader, and that's Bill Belichick. And everything you can say
Runs
what you want
through
about
Bill.
Tom Brady,
Everything
but
runs
Tom
through
Brady
Bill.
listens to Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is the boss.
And their locker room is just one of those, like, does anyone disagree?
You have to
really?
buy into it. If you don't buy into it, you're out. That's what happened to Reggie Wayne in the offseason. Reggie Wayne, everyone's like, oh, he's going to, sneaky good year with Tom Brady, at the back end of his career. Reggie Wayne was used to, I guess, more relaxed locker rooms. Not that locker rooms were bad. He was on great Colts teams. But it was not as uptight, serious business mode as the Patriots were, and he didn't buy in. And they said, okay, Reggie, just enjoy the
enjoy retirement.
Really. There's the door. And I think the problem with the Giants is that they want, okay, Eli, you're in charge late in games, but Eli's like, well, I'm going to be told this play by McAdoo, and McAdoo's going to say, throw the ball instead of run the ball and kill the clock. And that's where Tom Coughlin comes in, because he's the head coach, and the ultimate say really should be him. And yeah, you're right. So they forfeited the right to give Tom Coughlin, the ability to leave when he wants. I think they have to force his hand now. I know Steve Tisch came out, which I think is dumb. I do not agree with what Steve Tisch said, coming out and saying that Tom Coughlin and Jerry Reese are gone if they don't make the playoffs. Putting the pressure on your team is really unnecessary.
I think that's the worst thing you could do.
It's 100% the worst thing you can do, because they can still make the playoffs. So don't say those things. You're not gonna gas them up and be like, oh, our owners, have us on the hot seat, so let's start playing now. If the Giants, they're not gonna win the games now after hearing, they're gonna go, oh, okay, we're gonna lose those games, but thanks to our owner who's yelling at us. Like, they were in all those games. Like you said, they would have been 10-2 if you just take off 75 seconds of the clock. They put themselves in a position to win. They did not execute when they needed to, and it cost them, and it's going to probably cost them a playoff spot. They have it's the easy trap game Monday night versus the Dolphins, so we'll see. Giants in prime time is never a good recipe, but I do think it'll probably be the end of the line for Coughlin, and I guess Reese too, if they stick to their guns. I just don't know who the replacement is, because I don't think the Giants are going to hire any up-and-comer. It's going to be a huge name. It's going to be like a Cower or someone who is established somewhere. I don't even think a college coach. I think I have to get somebody in the NFL, because it's just the typical Giants way. It's just somebody who is a very.
Go and get Johnny Gruden.
I don't think Gruden. I don't think he's the mold.
I don't think he's gonna. I also don't think he's gonna leave his gig, which is the greatest gig ever right now.
Right. The Mariners is one of those old franchises that just want to do things their way. The original owners, them and the Rooneys and a couple other people. So they just want things in the classy Giants way. And Coughlin was a great coach, and like I said, I'll always be grateful for what he did. But it's just 5 times: the Saints game, the Falcons game, the Cowboys game, the Patriots
everything.
game.
It happens. It happens.
I mean,
it happens, and sometimes teams get stale and need a change of pace. And then
coming off of a bye and falling flat in your face, calling the game a flat. We came out flat versus the Redskins. What does flat mean?
How do you come out flat after 14 days?
Then that's a sign of bad. You do not have your team prepared to play. And that's what it comes down to. It's not Eli. He's having a great season. So, McAdoo's offense must be working for Eli. So, unfortunately, it falls on the face of the coach. And I guess the GM, too, because he did not put enough good, talented players in place.
Correct.
So, I think it's a problem, and it's absurd that they can still make the playoffs. So, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see this game tomorrow night.
Yeah. Yeah, if they don't win this game tomorrow night, it's over.
It's all. Especially with the Eagles and Redskins winning it.
Yeah, so that is the one thing. I just wanted to check your temperature on the G-men and see if we were on the same page, which is what we usually are on the same page.
Yeah.
But I wanted to check your temperature on that.
Yeah,
the other thing I really wanted to check your temperature about, now that we're on to New York sports kind of a little bit here, is what's up with the winter meetings in baseball and Hot Stove and all that stuff, Yankee trades,
definitely one thing I wanted to
everything to kind of just wrap our minds around. Absolutely.
This is the one. That was like the first thing I texted you. I want to get to the baseball stuff, and it's interesting for the Yankees and the Mets too. Baseball in New York is the Yankees are in the rebuilding mode, and the Mets are coming off the World Series, but everyone knows they might not repeat because of the inability of the Wilpons to spend money. So we see so far in the offseason, the Yankees make a nice move of getting Hicks. They make a nice move by trading for Starlin Castro, and there was the rumors of the Jose Fernandez trade, and we have to give a boatload of our prospects, our best players. I mean, guys who might be our best players in 2 years. Guys like Severino and Bird and Judge. It's a huge haul for a guy who could be. He's 23 years old. Fernandez could be a Cy Young candidate for a very long time.
The guy's awesome.
Yeah.
When he's healthy, he's awesome.
Yeah, coming off with the Tommy John.
Injuries, though.
So it's a little risky there, because you want to give up a guy like Judge, who's like 6'8", 250 pounds, who's going to launch the ball, and he's a huge prospect. Everyone loves
has
him.
Reggie Jackson type power.
Oh yeah, he does. So it's one of those things. Do you really want to give him up, because you're going to have Severino, you're going to have Evaldi healthy. You're going to have Tanaka. So you have 3 guys right there. And you have Big Mike Pineda, too, who's had stretches of looking like a really good pitcher.
Yep.
He just gets banged up here and there, inconsistent. I still trust him. I've seen him pitch in like tough games, and he has great stuff. He's still a younger guy. So that's the one way to look at it. Plus, not to get too far ahead, but there's a couple guys in baseball, 2 of the biggest names in baseball, who have been rumored to go to the Yankees constantly. And I'm not saying it's a done deal. We don't know what could happen. There's a lot of time. But Matt Harvey and Bryce Harper could both very well be Yankees in 2 years.
Here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to jump in here, Nick, because I'm like Mr. Bryce Harper. So I'm ready to put money down, like guaranteed money down in Vegas that Harper's a Yankee.
I think Harvey has a better shot of being a Yankee than Bryce Harper does.
Why?
I think Harvey just the guy. He's a local kid. He's from Connecticut. The Yankees should have drafted him the year that David Price went number 1. They passed on it. Everyone thought he was going to late in the first round to the Yankees. He grew up being a Yankees fan. Lives in Manhattan. He has the Yankee lifestyle.
Ranger games constantly.
But yeah, he does. And the supermodel, this and that. That's what the Yankees do. It's a big it's the best organization in sports. That's what he wanted.
Look, they're the big time. They're the big time. And I agree with you.
And I think, getting the agent like Boris and the whole, issues they had with the innings limit and sure they start him in the postseason, how many games he's going to pitch, this and that. Like that's a clear sign of that Boris is in his ear saying, hey, you want the $300 million
you want the bread?
Yankees?
Yeah.
You got to watch what you're doing. And luckily, Harvey was healthy and he pitched well. Had the big game in the World Series, but it's I think that he's a guy who's dead locked.
But why more than? But why more than Harper?
I think
that
here. I just all the stuff I said. He's linked. He's already in the city. One.
Yeah.
And he's just been linked to them constantly. Everyone knows he wants to be in the big time. Everyone, And again, I like the Mets, and I don't poop on the Mets at all. And I think like saying that he wants to go from the minor leagues to the major leagues is unfair. The Mets were in the World Series. The Mets are going to be,
I think the Mets are going to be very good.
They're going to be very good. They have a lot of. They have the best pitching.
They have more things to be excited about in this current moment than the Yankees do. In the current moment, they have more things to be excited about.
Their moves. We'll get to the next after you make your point. But their moves. I question the moves they made.
I question everything that the Mets do, but I think that right now, at least from a starting pitching standpoint, they have more to be excited about at this current moment.
Oh, it's not even close. There's no one in baseball can contend with them.
Right. So, but I think that Harper really would just do incredibly well in the Bronx.
Oh, sure. The short portion, right?
Have
50 home runs.
Honestly, if he broke the home run record in the Bronx, I would not be surprised. That's the first thing. Secondly, I've heard stories. Apparently, Buster Olney said it's, quote, inevitable that he receives 10 years from the Yanks. Inevitable that he receives $400 million.
Well, he should.
And inevitable that he wants to be there.
He should get a 10-year deal because he'll be 25 when he signs. He'll end the career.
Bryce Harper is he's gonna beat the system. He's gonna beat the system.
His contract will end when he's 35 years old. Ben Zobrist just got a contract for a 4-year contract
at 35.
At 35.
Yeah.
For $60 million.
Sure. And I think his favorite player is Mickey Mantle.
Yeah.
He's publicly come out and said that he likes the Yankees and would come and play for them. I just think that everything that's happening, he's not staying in Washington. Everything that's happening in Washington right now, team is unraveling.
Yeah,
you lose Zimmerman, you trade away a guy who hit 315 in Escobar. I mean, guy's as good as it gets, pretty much. Who's gonna play second base for you now? What are you gonna play, Danny Espinosa there? It's not gonna happen. You don't have a first baseman really either. I mean, what is Zim going to play first base for 30 games until he does something else wrong to his body? And I mean, who does that really leave? And now Jason Worth can't get on the field either. Now, who does that really leave? It leaves Harper and Rendon. I mean, come on. Would you want to play for that?
The team isn't terrible. They have Scherzer, they have Strasburg, but I just
He's gone too.
I think the problem is once you're going against the Mets, and the Mets, when you have to face a Harvey, a DeGrom, a Syndergaard, a Wheeler,
a Matz.
And they still have we'll see what they're going to do. The offseason is far from over. They have their offense obviously needs help as of now, but the Mets are the clear favorite for the division. So the Nationals are not a bad team. Are they a World Series contender like everyone picked them last year? No, I don't think so in the least. It's what's going to come down to is just how if they can go on a run. If the Nats get deep in the playoffs, maybe they could somehow stay here. We're going to add players and just
maybe. But I just really don't. I just don't think that in any conceivable way you can look at that and say
he's a West Coast guy.
I really want to stay. You know what I mean? Like I really want to stay in Washington. I don't think there's any part of you that could ever say that.
It's all that's
regardless
on
of the
runs
winning
they
or not.
make.
I think regardless.
I think it matters. I think the other thing comes to my mind. He's from Vegas. Maybe wants to stay on the West Coast. Maybe like the Dodgers or Angels might throw big money. The Cubs are going to have a really good lineup, really good roster. If you want to go and join that crew and go hit with Brian and Schwarber and Rizzo and
Soler and Baez
and who's the shortstop?
And Addie Russell,
Anderson Russell, and they're gonna have so many guys there.
And then you know the Cubs are gonna be real good. And now they just added Jason Hayward. So
they did.
There you go.
Jason Hayward, yeah.
There you go.
So I mean, if Manny wants to go make a super team with them, I mean, the only team you've really ever heard Matt Harvey be linked to is the Yanks. Is the Yankees, and he's from here. That's the only reason why. I mean, the whole Derek wants to be like Derek Jeter. The whole Dark Knight thing would be fit perfect with the Yankees. So that's the reason why I think that. I think both could very well end up being a Yankee.
I think that either way,
don't trade the farm.
I think either way you like it, and this revolves back to our point about Fernandez and the trading the prospects and this and that. Is that no, you don't trade them.
Yeah, don't
I'm very big on the farm in any big league club, because look at the teams that made it to the Final Four this year in baseball. Royals, homegrown.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Blue Jays are like semi-homegrown, but like have managed to get really, really lucky on guys that were castaways, so that they kind of get thrown out. But the Mets and the Cubs.
Yeah.
And then who's in it literally every year? The St. Louis Cardinals.
Right.
And they are the epitome of homegrown.
Yeah.
They're the epitome of it. It's just like they breed baseball players like horses. And that's the way to do it. Matt Adams goes down, this guy comes up. Alan Craig goes down, Matt Adams comes in. Yachty comes down, and Tony Cruz. Look at Tony Cruz start throwing runners out. Look, who they get rid of guys, and guys just come out of nowhere. Piscotty, Matt Carpenter, they come out of nowhere, and it's wild. So I just think that the importance in baseball of trusting your farm system and trusting your development team is way more important than it's ever been.
Sure.
And I think that it's finally about time the Yankees went and did it. Went and like, you know what? We're going to trust the process. We're going to go and give these guys a look, and we're going to just do it that way and stop giving massive contracts to guys.
And they're doing the good old New York rebuild mode, where it's not the full rebuild where you stink. It's like the rebuild on the fly, where you're still going to compete, but at the same time, hey, Florida Marlins, Miami Marlins, sorry, you want to trade for Aaron's up to us, we'll give you, whoever.
Right.
So I respect their effort and what they're doing. I think I always love Cashman. I love the moves he makes always work out.
People who say to fire Brian Cashman are I think just ridiculous. I think he's a really good GM. I like him.
To work out. I think he's very smart in this to not trade. You go and gut your team, go trade Judge, Severino, and Bird all for one guy.
But what does that do for you? So now let's just say he gets hurt, right? Let's just say Fernandez comes in.
It's a 3-for-1. Your 3 core members of your team who could be your best players are now gone.
Well, let's just say they trade for him, right? Okay, they trade for him. They make a move. Everyone in New York is like, oh, this is either really, really great or this is really horrible. So, the talking heads, here they come, this, that, and the other, comes out in April, boom, hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Now what?
Now you're screwed.
Now you hear everybody.
You lose your chance to get Bryce Harper.
Exactly.
Because why does Bryce Harper want to come to a team and be alone? He could do that in Washington or anywhere else, or he can go to a better team and be on a stacking like I said.
But now you line this up, right? You look at this and you look at this lineup that could be in 18. Let's just say 18 is the year he comes out, right? 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's this season and then this to some 17. He's played 2 more seasons. So this season coming and then 1 more after that. Then as a free agent.
Okay.
When he's 25. He's 23 now. So
okay.
That's when he is.
Okay. So either way you look at it, right? Okay, this is what we sign up for. Teixeira gone.
Yeah.
A-Rod gone. Sabathia gone.
Mm-hmm.
Beltran gone.
AKA the dead weight.
Beltran
Besides
gone.
A-Rod.
McCann gone. Mm-hmm. Gardner probably gone at that point.
Gardner might be gone this offseason. Him or Ellsbury might be gone this offseason.
Gardner gone at that point.
And Headley might be gone too. Was he 31 right now?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not bad. He was the best third baseman a couple years ago. He might be traded too. Those 3 guys look to being traded this season.
The main dead weight is gone.
Yeah.
And look at the young core. Like, a lot of fans are short-sighted on what they think about or what they want. And look at the core. You get, okay, Severino, Pineda, Eovaldi, who developed quite nicely in a half a year.
Yeah, he did.
Tanaka. Okay, that's 4. You insert a 5th. Okay, you go out and buy a 5th. You buy a 5th guy. All right, give me a flyer on somebody. Whatever. Bird, Judge, Ref Snyder, Castro, Sanchez, the catcher.
Yeah, Gary Sanchez is going to bring up, yeah.
I mean, that's Betances.
Yeah, Dylan's going to
Look at that's 11 guys right there that are just very, very, very solid.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to build around. Greg Bird came up. Yeah, Greg Bird hit 250. Look at every home run he hit. To take a lead, to tie a game, it was with men on base, big hit after big hit. He's the only guy off Dallas Keuchel that got a hit in that one game playoff game.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, you need to just let it happen. Just let it happen. If the team sucks, the team sucks.
And
that's fine.
They're supposed to. They were not supposed to be any good last year, and look what they did.
They gave Yankee fans last year a run, a nice little run.
Yeah.
A nice little, all right, you know what? We didn't play that bad.
They're going to find a good mix of using the veterans they have, some of the guys we call dead weight, guys like A-Rod and whoever else, who will contribute with the young guns and having them both play equal roles, and
right.
it definitely helps them. I cannot agree more with what you're saying, and I think, though I will say this, one of Ellsbury, Gardner, Headley, or Andrew Miller, I think will be moved
and
in
that's
a package,
and that's good
for a younger player who could be here for a very long time.
And that's good
because you don't need all those guys. You don't need a Miller, who's phenomenal when you have Dylan Betances.
Right.
So you can move him just to a team that might need
and maybe Betances wasn't that great last year towards the end, but that's fatigue, and that's not.
And also lights out in the beginning, so
Dylan Betances might have the best stuff of any relief pitcher in the league.
Sure, which is why Miller's expendable. That's why Cashman's
Miller
really smart.
is expendable. Miller's great. Don't get me wrong. Signing Miller, I thought was a great thing for the Yankees,
great move.
and they kind of had the Yankees had the team like the Royals had. Their bullpen was quite similar.
Yeah.
So. That's why that's why it was a good idea. But like you said, Miller is expendable. And I think if they move him or Gardner or Ellsbury or really anybody that's not future-oriented, it's great. Yeah. It's a great thing for the team because it gets these young guns, these guys that want to come in and prove themselves. And maybe, you know what, you go end up trading for. Look who the Mets traded R.A. Dickey for. Syndergaard and Travis d'Arnaud. Two guys that ended up being studs. So maybe you go out and you take a chance on a guy, he ends up being a stud, and now you throw him into the mix with all these other guys.
Or you got a good player like Donaldson who turned from a good player to an MVP player.
Right. So, and one of the guys that they received in the Wilson trade was the guy Sessa.
Yes.
Right-handed pitcher Sessa.
Yes.
This kid is a converted shortstop to pitcher. His numbers aren't great, but he's got a live arm.
Yeah.
And you know who else was a converted pitcher from a shortstop? Jake DeGrom.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if Sessa just runs? Look, this is not gonna. I'm not saying this is gonna happen. What happened? What if this kid? A lot of what ifs. What if this kid turns into Jake DeGrom?
But
there you go.
You're right. The moves the Yankees are making are very smart. I think they're for once not the Yankees of old that the offseason they had where they signed all those guys like Sheffield and everyone AR the same offseason. They're not going to do that.
Gary Sheffield, let me call you up and give you $25 million. That was just
we're not going to go down that road again. And I think it's smart.
Hey, Kevin Brown, you want $20 million a year?
I mean, it was terrible, and they put the team in a hole, and the team didn't even win.
No,
that's the problem. But now they're going to build. Now they're doing it. Like I said,
team building.
The whole New York rebuilding mode, where you don't really stink, but you're not really that good. You're somewhere in the middle. But at the same time, your team is slowly getting better. You're going on it's a nice steady uphill.
Right, climb. Incline. Right.
So it's you. As a Yankee fan, you should be pretty happy because last year they exceeded expectations. This year, I think they'll be a pretty solid team, and I think they still have enough talent, enough pieces to compete again and get back to where they were.
I think they have exactly enough on the roster to do exactly what
now, and we don't know what's going to happen
to do exactly what they did last year.
Right.
They have just enough to get in as a wild card, maybe win a game, maybe get a series, and call it a nice year.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have enough to compete for World Series. That's for damn sure. Look at right now you got to say the Cubs are just have put themselves.
Cubs are the favorite.
The Cubs have put themselves over the hump. The Mets are in there because just because of pitching.
Again, very early on,
purely because of pitching. But so the Mets are in the conversation. The Cubs are there. St. Louis will always be in the conversation. Boston picked up David Price, and I think Boston's young guys are going to be a lot better.
They're good functions, and they're still years away. And I'm not incredibly afraid of David Price.
You're not?
No.
I'm usually not either, but I'm more afraid of Mookie Betts and Jackie Bradley and Christian Vasquez and that whole like little thing that they have going on there, because that's the 2 years down the road of what I think the Yanks will have.
Right, they're not going to compete right now. The Red Sox, but they have a good farm system. Price is 30. Everyone's talking about that deal. The 3-year opt out.
Yeah.
He's a good pitcher. The Yankees had trouble with him last year. They've been okay against him at most points, but there's no one else. There's really no one else. Their team is pretty, bare of any good players. Ortiz has done after this year. I'm not really.
You're not sold on him. Yeah, look. I'm a guy that's sold. I think Boston could win 90 games and could pull a Houston. I think Boston could pull a Houston.
I don't think they have enough talent to do that.
How not? I mean, look, just the pieces are there, semi there. Keuchel and Price.
I think they're younger. I think the younger players are still a little bit away from where the Astros players were.
I don't think they have a guy like Correa or a guy like Springer where you could just come in and hit 25 bombs and drive in 80 runs as a rookie.
Do you think Price will be in the level the Price was at certain points last year?
Maybe not.
That's
He also plays in Fenway Park, which is like the worst pitching park in the history of ever. You be prepared to have balls battered off.
He does pitch well there, though.
That's fine. Yeah. You can go and pitch there once or twice and 3 times a year.
That's a good
point.
Go
pitch there 16 times a year, and then you tell me. Do you like?
Will he win?
You're gonna have neck trauma because you'll be snapping on. No.
Okay, that's basically what I'm saying. I don't think you're gonna sign this guy and he's gonna be a Cy Young favorite. That's my point. Will he win 15 plus games? Sure.
I think he can be what John Lester was in Chicago last year.
Okay.
Not great at times.
Then that's a terrible contract.
Good.
That's a terrible contract.
Good. Not great. Can lead a team, but I think he's gonna rely on another arm. I think that especially later on, he's gonna rely on some arm to emerge out of that myriad of arms there in Boston that's going to maybe do something, but it's not going to. See, that's where I think their downfall is. I think their downfall right there is they don't have enough to get over the hump of Henry Owens, Porcello, Eduardo Rodriguez. Everyone in Boston is so sold on Eduardo Rodriguez. I'm not.
Well, that town is.
I think that that's where they're going to have their problem, but they're going to have a nice year. They can win 85 to 90 games. Have a nice year.
It's harder than I thought.
Get in, but. I'm not sold on a lot of teams so far this year. The only team I'm really sold on is Chicago. I'm really sold on Chicago. Really sold on Chicago. To
compare them to the Mets, I think they're the two favorites in the National League. I just think the Mets moves, to get rid of Murphy, they traded for Neil Walker, and they go and get a Joel Cabrera, and they're essentially they're saving money as a salary dump. People have been calling it that, but the players actually cost more because you could count Cespedes as a rental. I just don't see why there's no desire to get back to where you were last year.
The Mets.
And there's no desire to grab a bat. There's no desire to load
Are
up
you
on offense.
it's like what was that? In Goodfellas. It's you're content to be a jerk. It's like you're content to be mediocre.
They really want to rely on pitching and defense, and I just don't know how far that can take you. Cespedes is going to leave you a gaping hole because he was on another planet.
But then he went whatever planet he went on, he took the rocket ship home, and then Murphy took the rocket ship to that planet.
They were carried.
And so
those guys are gone.
Both of them being gone really puts you in a tough spot.
And Cabrera
really
and Walker
tough spot.
Are nice players.
Cabrera stinks.
But they're not going to do what those guys did.
No, not even in the slightest. And
who's your big time bat? Is it David Wright? Who can you trust David Wright with his back?
And is it Lucas Duda?
Is it Duda who can go a month without hitting a baseball?
My goodness.
Is it Curtis Granderson? I mean, Curtis
Granderson is up, down.
Yeah, he was. He started off pretty bad, but he ended up pretty nicely. So I don't know. I want to root for the Mets because I think they have such a great core.
I think they have a great pitching thing going.
And I would love to see them do something. I was rooting for them very hard last year, but I think they're just wasting their time, and it's another reason why Harvey's not going to stay there, because you're not going to help him out. And what's going to happen with other guys? You don't think that DeGrom or Syndergaard and all those, they're not going to want to leave? Matz Wheeler, they're not going to want to go somewhere else because the Wilpons are afraid to spend money. You own the New York Mets, and this is a tired argument, and it's been said every single day on sports radio. I don't want to get into this, but I just don't get the moves in the offseason when you were on the doorstep to hoisting the title.
You were right there. You could have beaten the Royals in 5 games.
Yeah.
And you're right there. All you are is a piece or two away, a bench hitter here, an outfielder there.
Right. They lose out on Zobrist. They don't go after Hayward. They don't get.
But you're losing
Cespedes.
You're losing everything, really. You're losing your entire production. And I think the Mets are going to be way, like, we already consider them to get in, but I think that when push comes to shove,
they'll win the division.
Yeah, sure, you can win the division, but you can win a division against a AAA team in Atlanta, a AAA team in Philly, a AAA team with the Marlins.
Miserable division.
And will Washington be mediocre? So 3 AAA teams and a mediocre team, sure, you can walk your way in there. But when push comes to shove, they're worse than they are, obviously, and they have done nothing to get themselves any better.
They lost their best hitter. They lost their 2 best hitters, their best power guy and their best hitter, and they're both gone. So you're left with you brought in Neil Walker.
You must really trust Michael Conforto. Must really trust him.
That's a good point. They're trusting Conforto. They're trusting d'Arnaud to go to the next level. Besides that, I don't know what is David Wright going to turn into 27-year-old David Wright?
No. David Wright 06. That's not going to happen.
Is Grant going to be what he was at the Yankees in his first year?
No, it's not going to happen.
So I don't know what the Wilpons are thinking. You know, you could say what you want about Cespedes and what he became at the end of the run there, but when he was getting it, he was really getting it, and he fit in. And it's the first time you can say he fit in because he didn't fit in Boston, didn't fit in Oakland, didn't fit in Detroit.
Nope.
So you could say he fit in here, and his personality and his style fit here, and everyone loved him. Yeah, he was kicking balls in the outfield when they were losing, and he did things that made you scratch your head, but. If you remember the good times were really, 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 really good. And let's face it, Dylan Murphy and the rest of the team they were not hitting the ball at all during the World Series. The defense was bad, not just him. It was bad on Murphy's part. It was bad on everyone's part. The third first base by Duda. Everyone played poor defense. So let's not all pile on Yoenis Cespedes and say, he's not a guy for our locker room, not a guy for our team. Everyone in the locker room was having fun. They enjoyed it. And obviously when you win, winning cures all. But, no other team has been really linked to him. There's no massive contract out there by now, with him. So he's still out there. Give him a call. If you bring a big bat like that, you have him hit 30 home runs to you. That changes the dynamic of your team because now you're going, okay, we lost Murphy, but he is poor defense. We brought in a guy who might save runs that Murphy would have given up. He won't hit 280 plus. He'll probably hit 260. But Walker was an all-star. Maybe Conforto take the next step up, and then we have a pretty serviceable offense right now. And then you have your pitching staff, what they could do.
Let me ask you this. Two-part question, which I'm not supposed to ask.
Hour and a half long podcast. This one's going on pretty long.
Yeah, so two-part question. Like I said, I'm not really supposed to ask these. One, what do the Mets need? Who would you like to see the Mets get?
Cespedes. Easily.
Okay.
Just bring him back because he fit in. You know what he could do. I mean, he's not going to reach that level again, but he fit in. Everyone here loved him. He's used to it. Why go to another team? It's 4th team or 5th team, whatever it is now.
Yeah, 5th.
Why go to your 5th team? I'm asking him that. For the Mets, I'm asking you, why won't you sign a guy who you're used to? Yes, you saw he made dumb plays, but he was with you for a half a season, and he carried you to the playoffs.
No,
on his back.
I agree.
So
I agree.
There's no one else out there that will give you the effect of him. People said Zobrist was their guy. Zobrist is 35. He plays a lot of positions, whatever. He's not going to have the offense that Cespedes has. Jason Hayward, nice player, not the offense that Cespedes can give you. If you bring him back, that's a power bat. That's a guy who everyone was afraid to pitch to.
You know what that is? 30 and 100. You know how many 30 and 100 guys?
It's that simple.
You know how many 30 and 100 guys?
They don't grow on trees. They don't. You can't. The Wilpons, your friend and Jeff Wilpon can't go and pick one. There's not going to happen. Could Conforto do it this year?
No.
I don't know. I don't think so right now.
Absolutely not.
In the future, maybe
30 and 100. 30 and 100 from a guy in that ballpark. Could a guy who's meant to hit
they
double?
Had to bring the fence in 3 times.
Not happening. Not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Yoenis Cespedes can hit balls to the moon.
Oh yeah, big time.
So 30 and 100 is that simple. Second question is, who's won the offseason so far?
Diamondbacks, yeah, a boatload, but they got Shelby Miller and they got Zach Greinke.
They also gave up the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with baseball and the picks, I don't value picks in baseball nearly as much as I value them in other sports.
But let me read you the past number 1 picks. Go ahead, but I'm going to read. I read it.
You're going to probably show me a couple of names. I'm sure there's been guys who have been pretty good. You mentioned David Price. David Price was the first overall pick. I'm sure Bryce Harper was. Trout, but I know guys like Trout who's not a first overall pick. Even Matt Harvey was not a first overall pick. And there's been guys who have not been first overall.
All right, here
pick.
we go. Since it's 04. All right, we got Matt Bush and loser.
Yeah,
Justin Upton. I like Justin Upton.
Yeah, but I would take.
All right, okay. Luke Hochevar, been solid.
But
got hurt, but was solid.
He's a bullpen guy.
All right, Price. Yeah. Strasburg, Harper, Garrett Cole, Carlos Correa. Then Appel,
I mean,
who's
Garrett Cole's a
supposed
nice
to be
player.
good.
Cray's a good player. I mean, it's nothing. It's. But the thing is, Shelby Miller is a great pitcher, and you pairing it with Greinke, it's having a 1-2 punch like that could do wonders. The NL West is going to have some trouble too because the Dodgers are going to be a different team. The Giants, Giants are always there, kind of. They'll always.
Arizona can compete.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Padres stink. So adding those two pitchers, Greinke was phenomenal last year, and so was Shelby Miller. If he was on a better team, he'd be a lot better than what he was.
Okay.
So I'm not against
Arizona.
the trade. I'm not against the trade. I like a lot with the Yankees. I like what the Yankees are doing because the Yankees are attempting to build this team on the fly.
I think
that's the best of bias in me.
But I think that's the
Cubs,
fan in us.
The Cubs too. The Cubs adding Zobrist and adding Hayward. It's there. But the thing is, the Cubs are adding pieces who they help, they aid. They don't really change that much because I think their best players are already on the team. The Diamondbacks might have added their two best players.
Okay.
I just don't value first overall picks. It's not the NFL.
So Arizona, then Chicago. Then
I value MLB first overall picks last out of the sports.
Yeah.
I think the NFL might be the most known pick. The NBA might have the most important because the NBA drafts are so weak.
Yeah.
That if you go outside of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's been look at the draft with Anthony Bennett. It stinks. And he didn't go first, but say in a draft like that where everyone sucks and you need the one guy, you don't have the first pick, it stinks. NFL draft, there's guys all over the place. NHL same thing. It's a very even draft. There's stud players later rounds, but the first round gives you pretty good talent, guys who might be able to step in the team, week one. I don't. You showed me a lot of good picks. There's a lot of good picks. Are those the best players in baseball outside of Harper? No. Maybe you have one of the best pitchers and maybe the best hitter, or at least one of. Sure, but the bulk of the best players in the league were not the first overall picks, or maybe not even first round picks. That's the other thing too.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with what Diamondbacks did. If I'm a Diamondbacks fan, I would say
let's do it.
Good job.
Okay. All right. I like what the Cubs did. I really do. I'm weirdly biased to these weird teams like the Warriors and the Cubs.
I would pick the Cubs to win the World Series with or without Zobrist and Hayward. That's what I'm saying.
But these two pieces certainly
they help. They aid them a lot. Yeah, they do.
But I'll agree with you. On Arizona. I think Arizona, what they're doing is ballsy. It's incredibly ballsy.
Yeah.
Incredibly
I give credit
ballsy.
because after a while, if you're like one of these teams are always like not the worst, but not the best, you're in the
What
middle.
else can you?
Are you always like what? How long does it take for you to go? Like, damn it! Like, it's time to turn things up.
Yeah,
here, and
you know
let's
what?
Go for it.
And I think the Padres tried it and failed because they picked the wrong players.
I give him credit,
but you got to kind of give him credit for like
you got to go for it,
risking it to get the biscuit here.
100%.
And so I commend Arizona for doing their thing and trying it. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, at the end of the day, Shelby Miller is still young and has trade value regardless of how bad of a year he has. Greinke, you know what? You eat it. Okay, you eat it. One guy.
Yeah.
And I think at the very best, they're 90 wins, 90 to 93 wins.
It's a good year to do that, to go for it in the NL
With
West.
the Dodgers being as such, and they're kind of have their young guys sort of like not really there yet.
Yeah.
To have their young guys not really there yet. The Giants are regressing. And I think it's a good year to just say, you know what? F it. Let's do it. Why not? I guess I was on that train with the Warriors and going 73-9. F it. Why not?
I totally agree with you on that. I think
Why not?
And sometimes the sports teams have to. I like when owners get aggressive. Why wait in mediocrity forever? It makes no sense to me. So I like what they did there. We're on an hour and a half here. I had the one other topic I wanted to get into, but this might take a while. It was the whole Heisman debate thing. I don't know if you want to.
What about it?
Put that on the shelf for next week, or want to get into it.
Just tell me what you want.
Well, because a lot of controversy about. It was a close finish. It was like I believe 1,800 to 1,500 to 1,200.
The race thing.
Well, not even. No, not the race thing. No. It was just that the whole. Henry plays for an SEC team. McCaffrey plays for Stanford.
Yeah, we can get into. We have a lot today. We can get into that next week
because there's still college football going on. Because we have a lot to talk about with that, so we could save that one.
There's a lot to talk about with that.
I guess we get into this with what's something. So we want to talk about that. What's something else you're looking forward to talk about?
What am I looking forward to? So this week there's not much. You know what? I'm kind of looking forward to see what happens between Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry. I want to see who got Miami's dead, but they're not really dead. And I think that if the Giants win, they can stay alive. And I think they're fighting. They're right now fighting for Coughlin's job. They're fighting for Coughlin's job, and they're not out of it yet. They're not out of it yet. They win today. They win tomorrow, and they're in a proverbial tie. So I'm looking forward to Landry, Odell, Giants Monday night with the Dolphins. We'll see what happens. They come out and stink it up, and do they give up their season tomorrow, or do they put some fight into it and they finally win a damn game and play a full 60 minutes?
I think you should go rally the troops because they need to hear that.
I want to see it. I want to see some New York team. And you know what? Jets are flying under the radar.
They crushed the Titans today.
You like that? You like that metaphor? They're flying under the radar. So let's see if the Giants can pick themselves up here and right the ship a little bit.
To stay on the same wavelength with you with the New York sports, I'll probably go with the Rangers because the Rangers have not.
Oh man, horrible!
Well,
but I wish we would have talked about that.
And the thing is, like, I was thinking about topics for each sport, and there's like always something to talk about league wide for every other. MLB, we did the whole hot stove. NBA has the Warriors and the whole the streak and the Sixers with the tanking, and the NFL has the most stories out of any of them. The NHL doesn't not have a single league. I mean, the Penguins fired their coach, a Kane streak. You want to make this New York Rangers radio, we can do that easily. But for our listener, our one listener, whoever it is, we want to make sure we touch on a lot of topics. So I didn't want to get into a full-on Rangers thing, partially because I don't know if you saw me on Twitter the other couple of days ago. When they lost the game to Edmonton on Glen Sather night, and people are bashing, Girardi this and that, or get him off the ice, and this team is bad. This is not a slump. Oh, it's not a slump. How's it not a slump? So was our winning streak early in the year not a streak? I don't understand what it is. We had 28 points. I say we, 'cause I'm part of the team. We had 28 points at this point of the NHL season last year. We have 39 now. We had 30. Oh, now it's 40 because we went to overtime versus Calgary. They're a better team than they were last year points-wise, and I think roster-wise, too, on paper. This is the definition of a slump. A team was playing really well and is not playing as well as they were. They're on a hard West Coast trip now. I would hate going out there, too, to the frozen tundra and plains across the damn continent.
Tundra of
I'm not going to get on their case. People bashing Dan Girardi would take a puck to the mouth to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. That guy is undressed. I mean, I have a thing for Dan Girardi. I love all my players, but what I'm looking forward to is them just kicking things back into gear. The offense showed up the past couple of games. The goaltending and defense has been an issue. Oh, by the way, Kevin Klein is hurt and Derek Stepan's hurt. So once we get those guys back, two of our better players, I'm sure they'll be much better. Than what we've shown. So I'm looking forward to, not even looking forward to in a positive way. I'm just looking forward to watching him and hopefully seeing a good outcome. That's basically what I'm keeping my eye on until the next podcast. But definitely for the next podcast, I want to get to the Alabama versus Stanford, and I guess throw the Clemson.
I guess
guy,
we can get in.
in there.
Yeah, I guess we can get into that
because it's still college football going on, and I think it's still I think it's an evergreen topic because it's do you value the program that you play for? And record, although that's probably not the case for this one because Stanford is a pretty good record, and I guess the difference is that Stanford is not in the top 4 like Alabama is. So I thought that was pretty interesting. People have compared Derrick Henry's numbers to Melvin Gordon last year, and Melvin Gordon numbers were better, and he didn't win. So and yes, Henry broke records, but so this is a little bit of the tease. And McCaffrey obviously had a great season from start to finish where Henry struggled. So I want to get into that, compare schedule, this and that. As usual, always tweet us your questions, comments, what we could do better, what you want to hear us talk about. So we're going to have the podcast up on our SoundCloud, which I will tweet out, and you can listen to the whole over an hour and a half a segment on it. We'll have it on the YouTube page as well. Just not sure how quick, thanks to the computer issues I have. But follow us on Twitter. It's at DNS_podcast. You can follow myself at Edward L. Murphy.
Oh, is this where Nick I'm supposed to plug myself?
You can follow Nick. I'll do it for you if you want.
Okay, go ahead.
You can follow Nick
you can
at
do it.
N_picked, PICHT.
Yeah, that's me.
Like us on Facebook. I have all the information there too. You can go on the site. It's www.dishingandswishing.com, all spelled out. And we have the old archived blogs and such on there, as well as all the old YouTube videos. If you want to go check out the YouTube page, they have all the podcasts there. This mic is giving out on me because we've been here for so damn long.
I just have one thing to say before we go. I guess maybe we'll make it two things. One, Cam Newton's a beast. And that just went under the radar.
That's a great one for next year. MVP debate. That's a good one. We didn't get too much of the NFL actual season, so we'll get into that.
We can get into
Definitely.
that.
That's a good one.
Cam Newton, you're a beast. And you know who's a second beast? Conor McGregor. You're a beast.
Did not watch a single minute of that.
It was a single minute. How about 13 seconds?
I know. That's right.
Conor McGregor, you're a beast. And I'm happy that he won because that was great.
Putting the McGregor, the big UFC fight on the day of SantaCon for people who attended SantaCon is not usually conducive to them watching it.
I would imagine so. Well, sick people who are sick too. And have to miss SantaCon.
Or some had work today. So that's
so either way, Cam Newton, you're a beast. Conor McGregor, you're a beast. The country of Ireland is having a great time about now.
They are, yeah.
And that's all I have. That's all I got.
Yeah, so thanks to everyone who will, in the future, listen to this because it's not live, but it will be available to the public shortly. Thanks to everyone who retweeted us and tweeted out. I know Jada did a bunch, so thanks to her. And hopefully, again,
gotta throw the girl plug.
Hopefully, we'll be back here in the studio once a weekend, Saturday and Sunday, doing it. So we'll give you a weekly podcast. If not, we're trying to figure out the way to do it remotely. If I'm in Staten Island, Nick's in Queens, so if anyone has any tech insight could help us out with that.
Or when I'm in North Dakota suffering snowstorms.
Yeah, that too. Or if I get a job somewhere else doing radio in like Michigan, that'd be great as well to help us out with there. But for now, we'll use this studio. So thank you to the nice people at SiriusXM to let us use that.
A lot of plugs going on here, man.
I gotta say thanks to everyone who made this possible, and Applebee's who who follows us on Twitter. That's the funniest one. But yeah, so next week looking forward to some Derrick Henry versus Christian McCaffrey talk. Definitely
and an appetizer sampler from Applebee's.
That'd be great right now. I'm pretty hungry. Definitely talk about the NFL more in depth with Cam Newton, the MVP candidates, and we'll see what every week, like you said, there's been something else going on. So hopefully it's something really crazy.
Hopefully get something fun.
And we make it fun. That's why we're good at what we do. So again, thanks to everyone, and I guess we'll see you next week.
I think I'm cute. I know I'm sexy. I've got the looks, the drive, so go wild. I've got the move that really move 'em. I said chill, up and down their spine. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I make them hot. I make them shiver.